images to not put in with Show and Tell, because that doesn't work, but just to Viola one in to actually kill a Gristlebrand.
Yep. It's like Tony's going to lead off the action with a Tropical Island.
We're going to spin the top.
And a Candelabra of Taunos.
All right. So a very expensive artifact. You see, Ben's going to take a look at that, and we will as well. We oftentimes find it in High Tide because they generate so much mana, but this deck can generate a lot of mana too.
Yeah, especially through its posts, it's capable of generating quite a lot of mana. I know Tony's deck list, if you just read it on paper, may appear fairly innocuous, but when this thing gets going, it starts doing things as unfair as any deck you'll find in Legacy.
Glimmer Post is going to come into play. There's a trigger, going to gain himself a Lifeful Murata. So he's going to push himself to 21. Lundquist with an ideal start here, beginning with an Aether Vial. Now there is a Pithing Needle, and we'll see what Murata's going to name with this, because it would be very easy to name Aether Vial, but I think Tony has an idea of what he's up against here, because not many decks go Island, Aether Vial, and Legacy. And you do know, and you can take a look at Lundquist's deck list, that there are 4 Wastelands looming in that deck.
Yes. So we'll get a confirm here momentarily.
Lundquist going to draw. Yep, and Wasteland was the name.
Still named Wasteland, yep.
And there is an island for Lundquist. We'll see if he has a standstill or anything exciting to do. And he's just going to pass the turn back. Not sure if Ben knows what he's up against here. Not, 12 Post is a deck that sees a lot of play. Glimmer Post is an obvious giveaway. Now there is a Cloud Post, so now he's probably got a better idea of what he's up against.
Yeah, I would say the second land was probably where the cat was out of the bag.
Sure. Aether Vial going to take up. There's an island from Lundquist, and I think he's just passing it back. So his hand is very, very unexciting at this point. A Brainstorm on the end step from Murata, so he's going to get a little deeper into his deck and then put some cards back. Assuming that this resolves.
Yeah, it appears that Ben is really mulling this one over. He has 2 main deck copies of Spell Pierce. This might warrant one.
Uh-oh, Ben's rolling up his sleeves. Yeah, I've seen this before. There's an Aether Vial. Going to activate this. Put Silvergill Adept into play. Cantrip. Not quite sure what he drew off that. That's a Lord of Atlantis.
One of the folks.
And Brainstorm does resolve. So Sensei's Divining Top, another Cloud Post, and a Primeval Titan are the cards that Murata finds and adds to his hand. He's got to put 2 back. Show and Tell, and I think Misty Rainforest are the other cards there. So see if he can find anything exciting to do here.
And Murata will actually be able to, even if he only has the 1 tropical, be able to generate the necessary double green to cast Primeval Titan through the Candelabra. The old school use for Candelabra, just a mana fixer.
Yeah. So in comes a Cloud Post. That'd be the 3rd Locust. So those Cloud Posts are going to be tapping for 3 once they're untapped. And so if...
And remember, he can also activate Candelabra this turn to untap both of them. So Tony's capable of generating quite a bit of mana right now.
Well, let's see what we're going to bring to class. Show and Tell is put onto the stack. And I don't think Lundquist has a lot of interest in seeing this resolve. He does have Double Daze, but if he were to try to Double Daze this, what Murata could actually do is activate the Candelabra to untap a Cloud Post. But then Ben could just Daze in response to that activation on the stack. So Double Daze might actually get the job done on this.
Well, it depends. I think Murata might actually have a colorless floating in his pool right now.
Oh, good point. Yeah, you're right.
If I'm not mistaken.
No, yeah, you are right. And there's a Forceful actually removing a Daze, so you make a very good point there. So Show and Tell is going to get countered.
So with a colorless.
And 1. Going to untap. 2 Cloud Posts. 3. And there's a top. Ben takes a look at his hand. We do know there's a Daze hiding over there, but that's going to resolve. And now here is a top activation. Take a look at a couple of cards. Probably familiar with some of them because Brainstorm put them back. And nothing really of note there.
No, the most significant thing about this setup from Tony is it's going to give him access to Primeval Titan next turn. Where he can do something, for example, like get another Life Gain Post and an Eye of Ugin or what have you to start really going off.
Curse Catcher looks to be the draw here for Lundquist this turn. He's going to activate the Vial. He's going to put Lord Atlantis away and crash across for 3 with the Silvergill Adept. One thing to keep in mind, too, is that because there is a Tropical Island in play, those guys are going to be able to slide under the waters.
Yeah, and this is a big incentive of playing a list like Tony's instead of a conventional Seek and Show list. His his combo matchup's a little bit worse because he's slower and he's susceptible to Wasteland. But these tempo decks, their only really powerful weapon against you is Wasteland. Other than that, you have the ability to just generate a ton of mana and just power through things like Force of Will and Spell Pierce.
All right, so 2 green. That's going to be 5, and that'll be 6. So it's I think it's prime time, and it is.
So Ben, not quite dead yet, as Tony has played some islands here, so the island walking is still alive, but time is definitely not on his side here.
Yeah, not at all.
For those of you having traumatic flashbacks to standard a few years ago, you are in the legacy portion of the event.
Yes, we are. There's a cloud post and an Ivu, and Ivu is going to allow to allow Murata to actually search out Eldrazi to get this game over with here.
And we're talking next turn because of the Candelabra.
Yep. Things really do spiral out of control this deck quickly as long as it goes undisrupted. And that's why you saw Murata actually with the Pith Needle name Wasteland. Yep. Because even though the Aether Vial is a scary threat, it doesn't do nearly as much as Wasteland does to this deck. One Wasteland really just blows up everything it's doing.
Yeah. And when you think you've ever seen that in a game of Legacy, opponent opens on turn 1 Aether Vial, and a game 1 Pithing Needle is then named on Wasteland and not Aether Vial.
Yeah, it's rare. It's really, really rare. Regery the draw step here for Lundquist. So he can attack for a bunch of damage. That much is to be sure.
But it better be lethal because next turn, Tony is going to be able to actually search for and hard cast Emrakul. So even a counter doesn't matter as he still gets the extra turn trigger.
That's like a decent turn.
It's not bad.
It's not bad. I'm not like impressed or anything, but yeah, it's not bad.
For turn 5 or whatever.
You can just like Tarfire that, right?
Yeah, you can just Tarfire it.
Okay. That's good.
Flame Rift still deals 4, right? It's fine.
It does. Flame Rift does still deal 4.
So what are we even talking about here, you know?
An attack here. Going to come across the tropical islands for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Lord of Atlantis can't get in there because it itself does not have Island Walk. And the problem here is that, there are multiple, of course. The one that you mentioned with the Candelabra. But the other one, too, is you're going to see Tony untap some lands with his Candelabra and then actually search on the end step to go get an Eldrazi. This is one of the problems. This is Emrakul. I suppose this is the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to qualify that. I think this is just the problem.
I don't understand why Emrakul is so good.
Well, at least, Tony is kind of doing it in a semi-honest way, as honest as generating infinite mana and searching his deck where his Emrakul can be. He's not simply putting it into play with show and tell, so I appreciate the effort, if nothing else.
Sporting.
Yeah.
A sporting gentleman. Ben, whoa. All right, Ben's going to... I think, is Ben conceding?
Yeah,
Ben's drawing extra cards now, and I think Ben has realized that, okay, I'm no longer alive.
The writing is on the wall.
Yes, as it were. So, Tony Murata does win game number 1 here over our standard open champion, Ben Lundquist. 12 post up a game over Merfolk. And we'll start with Lundquist's sideboard here to see if he can do anything to turn this one around.
Well, Ben has access to very little that matters. He has 2 Pithing Needles. He has 2 copies of Swan Song, which are not terrible here. But, maybe he wants an Echoing Truth that's just some general disruption. He has, his 1 Dismember that he wants to cut here. But he, believe it or not, did not come well equipped for the 12th post matchup.
Unbelievable.
He still has a good early clock and Wasteland potentially as a good overall game plan, but his sideboard has very little dedicated. It does not have more Stone Rains that he can go to.
Sure. Take a look at Murata's sideboard here. 4 copies of Flusterstorm to help his combo matchups, along with these 3 copies of Mind Break Trap, 2 Venser Shaper Savant, 2 copies of Elephant Grass, a singleton of the Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale, 1 Pithing Needle, and 2 copies of Curse Totem. I like Tabernacle in this matchup, of course. Elephant Grass, not bad either.
No, nothing wrong with Elephant Grass.
And then that 4th Pithing Needle in his sideboard, I would expect to come in here as it can continue to shut down Wastelands, potentially shut down Aether Vial if he draws multiple copies. So.
And this is kind of my favorite feature of doing the Legacy Open series is you have things like these recurring casts of characters with their goofball decks. Like here's Tony, he's playing 12 post. They're only one in the room playing 12 post. Very successful with the deck, and we just get to have him on camera every now and again doing his thing.
Yeah.
And I really like that. People can kind of stick to one deck and work on their craft and protect their, perfect their little baby, and you don't get to see that in other formats because it's just too cyclical.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. And Tony's deck, it's not something that I would necessarily show up to in a tournament, but it definitely has. I've covered, at least 3 or 4 of his matches at this point. There are some matches where this deck looks dominating.
Oh yeah.
In a way that, no other deck really can.
When it plays against like a non-wasteland deck,
right,
it seems so hard for this deck to lose.
Well, sometimes it gets draws that don't go anywhere. There's a risk with that too.
Sure.
That's kind of the other feeling. But if it gets to do its thing and Wasteland isn't involved in the game plan, look out because he's hard casting Emeralds pretty quickly.
Yeah. And with the greatest of ease.
Yes.
You see both players going to continue shuffling up here for game number 2 between Merfolk and 12 Post. If you guys are just joining us, Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan, Star City Games Open Series here in Los Angeles at SCG Live, hashtag SCGLA for your tweets. We're in round 4 of 9. You do see that trophy there next to Ben Lundquist because he was our standard open champion earlier this morning, but we got another champion to crown.
But, how quickly the weekend turns. Lundquist goes from winning a 654-person standard open with Darius Sky, Jack, and friends to his opponent casting Emrakul against him.
Yeah.
Hard cast on turn 5.
Not so tough now, are you?
No, you're only as good as your last tournament.
That's right. It's a brand new tournament, brand new day.
Yeah. And Tony just doing his thing.
Wish we saw more 12 Post.
I actually kind of like I like when Legacy tournaments kind of have a sort of a Street Fighter vibe to them. Where you have the one guy who just has his own set of moves.
Okay.
And, someone proficient with it can be an expert. Like, I like that there's some people kind of doing their own thing. 12 Post is pretty sweet. I wouldn't mind having more of it on camera. I'm not saying that's not the case, but I do like the element of uniqueness that Tony Murata playing 12 Post can offer.
Who is your favorite Street Fighter character?
I liked Balrog a lot because I was a big fan of the kick buttons just punching. It's like, why would I kick when I could just have more punch? In some ways, this was a really influential moment for me, the Magic deck builder. It's like, why kick when I could just punch more,
Very nice. Very, very nice.
Appears that Lundquist is taking a mulligan here. You can see Tony's opening hand contains an elephant grass, it looks like. A piping needle.
Looks like he's happy, right? Yeah.
I don't know if I would go so far to say that. It does appear that he's keeping.
You're a fan of the crazy buffalo in Balrog. I like that. You play one way.
Just punch.
Yeah. Turn punch.
You do your thing, I'm going to punch, and we're going to find out who's better.
Dashing punch, dashing uppercut.
Yeah.
Those fireballs keep you at bay, though.
Yeah, it's
kind of annoying.
I'm not saying I was good at Street Fighter. I'm saying I just like the punch button.
Okay, I like it. I like it.
Give me 6 punch buttons.
Yeah. Lundquist's going to take a look at 6 cards now. Doesn't look... All right, so he's going to keep. Hiya. Vial from Wasteland. Pass.
Pretty powerful opening here.
Yeah. There's a Glimmer Post. Murata going to go to 21, but we know he has Needle, right?
I believe that is the case.
Bink. It's funny here because if he were to name Vial, like Ben really couldn't operate. I just drew an island. Okay, so he's okay.
It is one of the weaknesses of the Merfolk deck. Without Vial, there's only 12 islands in the deck. It occasionally struggles to cast its lords and whatnot.
Yeah.
But Tony has his eyes on the prize here. Just shut down that Wasteland.
There's a Cloud Post. And now, the time to spin that there top. It is. And Ben looks like he's lining up a Daze on the top. I actually like dazing this a lot.
Yep. Tony's deck, like I said, one of the weaknesses of it is it has the potential to kind of go nowhere sometimes.
Yeah.
Because it has so many different pieces it's trying to put together. So any search card is a really good target for whatever disruption that you have.
Here's a Silver Gilded Up. Lundquist going to show off a Lord.
And
Now he's
Lundquist
gonna
really
pile in the Lord.
firing on all cylinders on this draw. This is a very good mulligan.
Yeah, I mean, outside of not being able to actually wasteland, yeah, he's doing a really nice job here. He just needs to get the game over with. Because, you know, if any big idiot comes into play, show and tell, something of that nature happens, he's just pretty dead.
Yep. And it's possible that Tony is currently missing green mana because with his Candelabra and his Cloud Post, he could actually keep Elephant Grass in play for a while.
Yeah.
Buy himself enough time to do whatever he's trying to do. But I don't think that he is green mana currently.
There's Basic Island. Now, I'm not sure how important Island Walk is in this matchup, but it's not irrelevant.
It seems
say that.
like it could potentially matter if Tony is trying to win the game through Primeval Titan because there's the one turn where Benny basically gets a freebie.
There's a main phase Brainstorm. Hit 1, there's Escher's Map. 2 in a crop rotation. 3 in a Misty Rainforest. So green's not a problem anymore.
Yep.
That's for sure. It's funny how annoying Elephant Grass will be if it does hit the table.
Yeah, and I will wager money that Ben is going to have to pick it up and read it.
Yeah.
I would give odds on that one.
Whenever I think of Elephant Grass, I just think of the picture. That's all I think of. All that grass.
Yeah, and the elephant looking over.
There's the elephant, yeah, just standing tall. Cumulative upkeep 1. Black creatures cannot attack you. Non-black creatures cannot attack unless you pay an additional 2.
Right. So if anyone out there is playing Hatred or some other black base aggressive deck, this just shuts them down, and it's very good against tribal beatdown decks like Goblins or especially Merfolk.
Now here's my question. Why does it just shut down black creatures? They can do nothing through the grass, but everyone else can.
Correct.
I don't understand why that's the case. Why would a black creature just be shut down by all that grass? And said elephant overlooking the grass.
I don't know. You would have to go and ask the Visions Flavor team about that one.
Okay.
It's a reasonable question. As you see, Tony get a little extra mana through his Candelabra here. I believe this will lead to him using Expedition Map.
It is a very scary elephant, though.
Yeah. He's looking at you and judging you for your aggressive nature.
Yes.
Why are you trying to attack me?
Well, if you just...
I just want to graze,
If you would just mow your lawn,
right.
I wouldn't mind so much. Here's another Pithing Needle.
I assume this one will be going on Aether Vial. Unless Tony's hand is super specific and cares about Curse Catcher for some reason.
Yeah, and Vial is the confirmation on the name. So 1 on Vial, 1 on Wasteland. Lundquist draws a card. It looks like he has multiple Rejuries in his hand that he's unable to cast.
Yeah, that Python Needle was devastating. If it would go up to 3 here, but this pretty significantly reduces Ben's clock.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is the attack. I think his hand is just like double, potentially triple Rejury.
So let's see what Tony can put together here.
Ah, yes. Elephant Grass. He's just going to need some green mana to get that grass in play.
Well, he has a Misty, so he can theoretically Misty. I don't know if he has a basic forest in his list.
No basic forest.
But he can get a tropical here. Use the Expedition Map to get another Cloud Post.
Yep.
And then have mana for days.
Yep. So he's doing just fine. And now the interesting thing here is like Ben can get across for 3 points of damage, so he can actually still keep dealing damage.
Yes.
So he's not doing horribly, but he needs to peel off running lands here to get back in it.
Right, and Tony's really taking a lot of the sting out of the Rejuries that are in Ben's hand as well. Not only can he, playing a Rejury is Ben's whole turn, he can't attack at that point.
Yep.
And the additional bonus the Rejury generates is also pretty insignificant. So.
All right, so Murata's down to 11.
But he's going to have a lot of time here.
Green mana. Oh, so it looks like we're going to generate some more mana here.
Okay.
So there's a Candelabra. Got to untap these, so he's got a colorless floating. There's some mana floating. Could be a green.
All right, so 4 mana is my count.
5, 6.
Just playing Primeval Titan?
We could get dazed here pretty badly. Yeah. Ben gonna go reach to his hand. So I don't think there's any mana floating.
I think his hand is just 3 rejuries.
Yeah.
This seems risky for a number of reasons. The potential to get dazed, and I guess Murata is just going to get some cloud,
He can go get, he can go get Glimmer Coast
Was
Cloud
right.
Post. Yeah. He can go get Tabernacle at this point, which would be pretty darn good.
I can get behind Tabernacle. That makes a lot of sense.
Shooter in the tower, as it were.
Yep. I still think that play represented some unnecessary risk against Daze when he could have just Elephant Grass mapped for another Cloud Post and had a lot of mana to work with.
Yeah.
But still, this is going to give him a healthy cushion.
Yeah, put him up to 14 now. And so the Vesu is going to copy the Glimmer Post, and the Cloud Post is going to be in play. So there's actually up to 15 because the 4 Locust in play, not 3. Going to count itself. My apologies there.
This, of course, assumes that Tony brought in the Tabernacle, which we assume that he would for this matchup.
I know I would.
Yes.
Apparently, someone on Twitter, YREKA, I'm going to go Yetkra? Because a black creature would have to take one last gasp before they were gasping for breath in the grass.
I think that's a stretch.
stretch. I'm with you on that one.
It feels like a stretch to me. Benny has just drawn a Python Needle, which is
Ooh.
very valuable here. It can shut down Candelabra, although Primeval Titan still represents just so much action.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to kind of name Ayavugan with it.
I don't know how you're beating through Primeval Titan is the concern.
Well, we can't really stop Primeval Titan in the first place, right? Like, what can we do about Primeval Titan right now with Hidden Needle?
This is true.
I think the card that actually ends up beating us is the one that beat us the last game, which is Ayavugan searching up something. Because Titan comes in, trigger, go get a Cloud Post, go get an Eye, and go absolutely crazy with
I just don't know if you can allow him. I don't know if you can allow him to rampage with his mana this turn by saying Candle. I guess the worst case scenario is he just gets Ayavugan. So.
Yeah, and then tutors up in Eldrazi.
Yep.
Yeah, and so that's exactly what Ben named. He did name Ayavugan with the Cloud Post, or excuse me, with the Pithing Needle. The problem here for Ben is that, there are 6 copies of Glimmer Post virtually left in Murata's deck because he has 3 copies of Vesuva and 3 copies of Glimmer Post left. So Titan's just going to get to come crash across, trigger, and just keep gaining him life.
Yep.
And he's never actually going to chase down the life, it looks like. And did I mention Elephant Grass?
Yeah, we have that as backup.
Okay.
And Tony has just drawn Glacial Chasm too, which is just
Boy.
another soft lock rolled into all the other soft locks he has going on right now.
So I think, I feel like, you can correct me if I'm wrong about this, feels like a good matchup for the 12th post deck.
Yeah, I want to be on his side of the table. As you see, Tony here get a Vesuva that appears to be copying a Glimmer Post and a...
That's a Tabernacle.
Tabernacle.
A lot of memorable moments with Tabernacle on the Stars of the Games Open Series camera.
We have had a lot of creatures just die for no reason.
Just gone. Just gone.
But this is a legendary land from Legends, and all creatures have an upkeep of 1 mana now.
All right, so Ben not going to waste his time shuffling today. Just cut it and says, you can take this back. I don't think I'm winning.
Just taking his lumps.
Yeah. Being put into multiple soft locks, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
I even think the coast is clear. I think you just play the Elephant Grass, too.
Sure.
Because, now it's just a situation where you want to attack, you got to pay for Elephant Grass. If you want to... Well, first you have to start by Tabernacle, and then you have to pay to attack me if you don't have enough mana to do. So Ben's going to come across for 5 points of damage here. Going to knock Murata down to 16, or excuse me, down to 10. Going to play a Wasteland and pass the turn back.
And Tony passes the Tabernacle test with Flying Colors.
Well done.
Plays first Primeval Titan. Big fan of that line.
Draws a Cloud Post for the turn. One of the nice things about Tony's deck, too, is, even though Pithing Needle is shutting down Ayavugan right now, it's pretty clear to me that he doesn't need it to win. It would be nice to have Ayavugan, but it's not necessary to actually get the job done.
Yep. And also, any Eldrazi he just draws at this point are
it's
totally
game.
castable. Yeah.
So another attack for the Primeval Titan trigger. Go get 2 Vesuas, copy some Glimmer Posts, gain a bunch of life. And Ben is going to pack it in.
has had enough.
So Tony Murata with 12 posts, a deck that he has won a Legacy Open with before, defeats Ben Lundquist playing Merfolk, 2-0 and what, again, felt like a pretty favorable matchup for the 12-post deck.
Yeah, Ben definitely has some draws that just involved a good clock plus wastelands that can disrupt Tony. Tony had Pithing Needle both games, was able to stop the wasteland line.